You're listening to the Savoir Faire audio experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Savoir Faire audio experience. Thank you guys for listening, following, sharing. Today is another great interview. I'm super excited to be talking to this person for so many different reasons, and we're definitely going to dive into them. Dr. Marline Duroseau is here. Hello, Marline.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you finding some time in your hectic schedule to come chill with me and talk a little bit. I'm excited to learn so much about your platform and your story and just kind of the things that you're doing to assist women with all kinds of like life things. And then obviously we want to talk a little bit about this brand new book that you just released. So I'm excited to talk about all these things with you. It's really cool.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm excited as well.
Yeah. So Marline, I want to dive into like a little bit of your history. I like kind of understanding where people come from and how life kind of makes them who they are. And obviously you have a great platform at this point in life, but I'm sure it didn't start here. So can you take me back a little bit and just tell me a little bit about, growing up and some of the things that might have happened in life that kind of led you to where you are now?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question because we don't know or can appreciate where we are or where we're going unless we continue to reflect on where we've been. So I appreciate the question. I am a child of Haitian immigrants. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. And I always like to make sure I talk about my immigrant side because I feel that that is also what shaped me to be the individual that I am, in the sense that my parents are great advocates of education, and they said that nothing would be impossible for us to attain or achieve here with your education. So because of that, I consider myself a lifelong learner. I just recently completed my doctorate in organizational leadership, and my research was on the lived infertility experience of women in leadership roles. And I think that that's very significant because just the fact that I love to learn, I love to help others, and I'm also, a leader and teacher in spirit, that had a lot to do with where I am now. And I currently work as the chief financial officer for a company that I've been with for 23 years. It was my first job out of college. My senior year in college, I started here as the payroll lady, and I was able to work my way up through continued education and getting promotions to now being the CFO. And while I was on this journey of building my career, I was dealt a hand of infertility. So for 15 years, while trying to grow my career, I also silently dealt with infertility, which was very, very tricky and very difficult, to say the least, because oftentimes women are tasked with having to choose between growing their career and starting their family. So it's one of those things that after I completed my infertility journey, my family is now complete. My husband and I have 4 boys, so we're done, right? But yes. So it's like, how do we help other people? And I know that within that journey, I dealt with some ups and downs, including a loss of our first pregnancy, our first daughter, Angel Grace, and that kind of helped me to take me into the next level of writing my book. And I didn't set out to write the book at first. But after dealing with that loss, after trying for so long, it's like, what do I do? How do I deal with this? So I journaled a lot, and eventually those journal entries became my first book, and it's kind of shaped the journey that I'm on right now as a speaker. I'm a TEDx speaker speaking about leadership and infertility, the two things that are near and dear to me. And I also help coach men, women, and couples that are currently on their journey, and people who are trying to navigate leadership while dealing with disruption such as infertility. So that's a little bit about where I'm from, what I do, and what I plan on doing.
I love it. I love all of it. It's so cool. And Yeah, 4 boys, you poor thing. That's a lot of
Yes, it's a
testosterone in your
lot.
house.
Very much so.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness. I have 3
Yes.
sons, and I know a little bit about having a bunch of boys around. But obviously, from a male
Yes.
perspective, it's like, hey, these are my boys,
Right.
right? But from a woman's
Mhm.
perspective, you're like, oh my God, boys are crazy. But people do say that like boys are so much easier than women. Have you figured that part out yet?
You know what's funny? I did a lot of nurturing for my nieces, nephews, godchildren, but I was surrounded more by girls.
Mm-hmm.
And having the boys, let me tell you, we didn't know if we were coming or going. Like, I don't know, they're just different because the girls, a lot of the times, okay, they just want to play or, kind of hang out and what have you. But with the boys, literally, they're jumping up and down, because you think, okay, I've done this for a long time. I've been helping raise cousins and everything since I was 9. So I'm like, oh, this is
Mm-hmm.
easy. Oh no, having all the boys, it's totally, totally different. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier, but at the same time, it's not necessarily more difficult. It's just different with the two sexes.
Yeah, I feel that too. I mean,
Mhm.
I raised boys. I had twin boys, by the way, so I like 2 at a time at one
Yes.
point. But like, it's a
Wow.
lot to kind of take on. Boys are hyper little creatures, man. They got a lot of energy that
Exactly.
needs to be released. So I want to dive into this. I saw your website, mcdbe.com, if people want to go check it
Yes.
out. Um, I just see some really great headlines here: life coach, fertility coach, public speaking. You were talking a little bit about that with me. So talk to me
Yes.
exactly like there must have been a moment for you while you're going through your journey where you finally found that piece where like I know I have a lot of information about this and I need to share it. So talk to me about like that conversion from obviously working to now having this kind of self-employed career and really kind of
Mhm.
thinking on that stuff. I mean, was that a conversation you had with your husband and just kind of sat down and figured out what you guys were going to do?
You know what? It's funny you asked that because it did involve many different conversations with my husband, but I think I had a lot of conversations with myself first because,
Yeah.
especially as women, we deal with a lot of self doubt and limiting beliefs because after having gone through my experience, you tend to think, okay, well, I mean, I'm not the first, I won't be the last. Who cares? People aren't going to want to talk about this. That type of thing. But I had to find the internal courage to say, you know what? No, I need to create and cultivate a safe space and create offerings that I know I would have benefited from and needed when I was going through my journey. So I put that fear aside. And finally, after grappling with myself for so long, I told my husband, I said, you know what? I think I want to write a book. And he goes, oh, okay, okay. So he's very supportive. And after writing the book, I said, okay, well, I wrote the book, but what's next? I want to be able to speak on stages about this stuff. And he says, just remember, it's going to take a little time because this is a topic that's very stigmatized and surrounded by taboo, but you can do it. So I have to say he was very, very supportive from that front. And I think as much as I continued to move on and like, okay, I started with the book and moved into speaking and moved into coaching. So slowly but surely it helped build the brand that I'm trying to build now because once I kind of took one thing on and mastered it in my sense, or I don't even know if it's called mastering it, just seeing the impact because I would go around, the country on book fairs and would meet people and they would, even if it's secretly or silently, come and speak to me to say, oh my gosh, you've helped me so much, or I ordered the book on Amazon and I had no one to talk to, or whatever the case may be. Or even after my TEDx talk, I participated in TEDx Rally in the month of August, late August. And when I got off of the stage, the people were lined up to speak with me and telling me about how much I'm relatable and happy that I'm talking about this because they really still in 2025 don't really have where to go. So it's one of those things that I said, in doing this, I always knew that I wanted to transition as well out of corporate to do my own thing, but I didn't have the plan, so to speak, or the roadmap to say, okay, well, if I do become an entrepreneur, what am I going to do? What kind of business is it? And slowly but surely, it just kind of fell into place. So I'm still on my 5-year plan of transitioning out. So right now I'm doing both, still working as a CFO and also building and cultivating the brand with the different offerings I have because it's just important to get the message out there and help as many people as we can.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm really curious about the public speaking perspective because I've
Hmm.
talked to a lot of people that are in front of a crowd for their job, right? And just getting
Yes.
up there and communicating. As a public speaker, I don't think I've ever asked this question to anyone that I've talked to before, but like as a public speaker, what kind of things do you see from the stage perspective when you're telling your story or going through this stuff? Are you seeing reaction? Is your stuff more note taking? Give me a little bit of taste of like what that is for you.
You know what? That is a fantastic question. Let me tell you why. Because oftentimes when we talk about a subject, you just focus on getting through your talk, right? Because some
Mm-hmm.
people, until you build your confidence on stage, you're really just trying to get through it. However, now that I think about it, one of the things that I do for public speaking is not only am I trying to bring awareness to the topic, and one of the ways I bring awareness is also through storytelling, because when you tell a story and people can basically replace you and replace it with themselves, so they see themselves in the story, it makes you more relatable. So that allows me to, grab the crowd, bring them in. And once I get them to say, oh, okay, this is something that not only I have gone through, you can definitely either relate to it or you'll find out this information so that maybe you help someone else that's going through it. Then I pivot into, making sure we figure out how to empower them from the stage. So first I go into telling the story in a manner in which people can understand, and you bring them in. And then from there, we say, okay, now that we've identified this problem or I've shared this problem, how can you overcome it? And even if it wasn't a problem that was specifically related to someone in the audience, they're able to also learn how to help other people that they may run across that has a similar issue. So I'm very much focused on storytelling, getting the story out there. And because it's something that people don't really talk about, I do get a lot of intrigued faces like, oh, wait, what? You dealt with this and you currently are doing that? Like they are amazed. And then it becomes, okay, well, how did you do it? Right. So I go ahead and go through my framework that I normally share on stage. It's the MCD principles, which are the initials of my name, which is be motivated, be courageous, be dynamic. So that's kind of like something they can live through for themselves, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
from there, how can you help others, and getting that education part to be able to help them to support. So with that, that's why a lot of people, when I get off of stage, they come and say either, oh my gosh, what a captivating story that you shared, and kind of just resonate with what I went through and gave their feedback. Or it's, oh my gosh, I went through that too, and I'm so happy you shared it because I could never do that, or you've empowered me to start sharing my story or something of that nature. Or I'll get, oh, I haven't had this experience, but my niece, my sister-in-law, somebody I know is kind of dealing with something similar. So now allowed me to learn more so that I can help them. So from the
Mm.
stage, I do a lot of a combination of those three things.
No, I love that. It's really unique to kind of hear that perspective because I often see like speakers in my own line of work go to see kind of
Hmm.
people. I've obviously been in front of other performers in the entertainment world, and I
Right.
feel like even musicians like they do the same song over and over and over again, and sometimes it just
Hmm.
falls into routine. It's not something that's unique for each individual, and I
Right.
feel like you're kind of just delivering the message. But in this situation, it sounds like you really kind of put a lot of thought into making sure that each time you're on stage, it's something unique for that audience and kind of controlled, and then that's really kind of unique.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's another thing when you're public speaking. A lot of times you'll hear the terminology, your niche. What do you talk about? This, that. And I feel like any topic that you're talking about, there is always a way to cater it to the audience so that they can feel that they've gained value from what it is that you're speaking about. And you just reframe the same niche topic in a way that different people can resonate with it. So it's very important to be able to do so. So you're correct with that.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously, your platform, mcdbe.com, is your website. So I want people to go check that out. But, you really kind of pride yourself in this new coaching world. And I know you're kind of doing life coaching, but also focused on helping women kind of manage a little bit of their journey with fertility.
Yes.
Can you give me a little bit of a brief part of your story and how you're helping women with the coaching that you're doing?
That fertility coaching is very important to me. It's funny because when you're on that journey, it's so lonely, and you feel like you're a shell of yourself because not only are you dealing with it in real time, you still have to show up in the world as the other roles that you are, right? Whether it's a leader at work, a daughter, a sister, things of that nature, a wife.
Hmm.
And it's important to me to help women, and that's what I do when I help them. One, we help to educate them on what it is that they're actually going through in layman's terms. Because when you're dealing with infertility, yes, you're at the doctor. Yes, you're dealing with it from a clinical aspect, but a lot of it kind of goes over people's heads and they don't really understand. So you'll get a huge workup at your doctor's appointment, but you need someone to be able to break it down for you. So that's one of the things that I do, help break it down into layman terms so that they can understand. In addition to that, also when you're at the doctor, things go so fast because there's so many people, on the same cycle as you at the clinic that the doctors, even though they would want to, they don't really have a lot of time to spend with you one on one. So when you're in there, you feel the pressure of, well, let me just get the information that I need and go. So after you leave, it's usually, oh no, I forgot to ask this question, or oh, what am I going to do about that? Just extra follow up. So I normally, if they allow me, be there with them either virtually or, with the doctor's permission while they're at the appointment, or ahead of time when I know they're going to have an appointment, cultivate some questions that they should ask in terms of the education part, right? And then
Mm.
when they're actually on the or in the cycle, just emotionally and mentally supporting them because there's this aspect of having this goal, but no one really knows what goes into actually, what's the word I'm looking for, obtaining the goal. Because in your brain, you're just trying to get pregnant, right? Fine. But
Hmm.
then there's the medication. There's some days you're going to feel happy, some days you're going to feel sad. Sometimes, you probably have some pain. What are some things that we can do to help mitigate the physical pain? How do you explain to your job where you are? Like, okay, I have to get this test done, but they only offer it at 11 o'clock in the morning, lunchtime. How do I navigate that? So there's a lot of psychological back and forth that goes on in the physical realm and mentally that I also help, the women with. And then you have where I help them pivot or be open to pivoting if they have to do something different. Because sometimes people will go in and think, oh, okay, well, I won't need IVF. I'm just going to do an insemination, or, you know, I'm going to do, this particular approach. But then by the time they run your blood work, do your ultrasound, you might run into a roadblock that you didn't, count on. So they sometimes are at a standstill because it's like, oh my gosh, now I have to do this new procedure. How much is that going to cost? The insurance doesn't cover. Do I want to do it? And you have to tell them, hey, I'm here to support you, but you have to be able to be okay with pivoting. And sometimes that takes a while too, because we're so headstrong on this is what I thought it would be. So when you approach it and then it's not that, that's another hurdle to get over. So
Hmm.
my fertility coaching is very personalized and really help to focus on what the mom to be and dad to be, what it is that they ultimately want, and kind of guiding them through each phase of the process.
Yeah, that's really unique. So it's really kind of you've gone through this phase yourself, obviously, and so
Hmm.
it's being able to hold people's hands really and let them know, okay, this is what this means, this is what's going to happen, kind of giving them the heads up because obviously going through this process in the very beginning can be a little scary. I mean, I always prefer like the doctor that's going to talk to me through things that are going to happen even when you do like little day surgeries or something. So it makes
Exactly.
sense that you
Hmm.
really want someone there that has some education and can help you through the process or at least guide you so that you know what's going to happen. And do you give perspective as well? Like obviously there's multiple different ways for fertility to kind of take place. And so
Hmm.
are you giving multiple different options and allowing people to kind of decide which path they want to?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because one of the ways that I'll give you a perfect example right now, just in the day and age that we're living in, a lot of people are looking into or considering a more holistic approach to family building and parenthood. And with that, it may involve, maybe going into acupuncture, maybe doing a year of, detoxing and resetting things from a holistic standpoint before going into the medication aspect of fertility building or family planning. So that's something that I'm also open to and help people because you may again come in and say, well, I don't know if I want to deal with, the medicine aspect of it because maybe their faith, they're conflicted because of that angle, or they don't want the artificial approach because, they've never taken medication. So, if someone wants to do the holistic aspect, I definitely put a separate plan together for them, catered to them, customized to them, and I have additional partners that I work with in the holistic realm to help give them the support that they need. Or you have someone who has certain limits or boundaries on how much of a medication or medical intervention because of their faith or culture or what have you. So we put something together for them. And then you have some people that's like, okay, I'm willing to do whenever, wherever, let's go to the most invasive option first, either because I'm older or I already know I have this issue or whatever. And at that point, we would cultivate that for them. So definitely open to different aspects and different approaches that a client would need based on where they are in their journey and what their preferences are.
Yeah, it's super cool. I love that you kind of have this wide variety of things too, which is really cool because
Hmm.
no two people are going to be the same. No two people want the same situation. And you know what? I applaud you for kind of taking on all of this extra time, effort, energy to be educated in all of these different places so that you truly
Yeah.
can be like the perfect hand holding person and through the experience for people, which is
Hmm.
super unique. So talk to me a little bit about your next this venture that you just released. So It'll Happen by 30 is the name of the book, A Relentless Journey of Faith Delayed But Not Denied. I love the title.
Yeah.
Tell me about like, okay, you talked to your husband one day and said, I want to write a book, and then you did it. So like, where's the perspective now that it's out there? What do you feel, more more kind of confident in the idea that you have this book, and then what's it about?
Absolutely. It'll happen by 30. And it's funny because I didn't even set out to name it that. It kind of, in me speaking with the plan I had for the book and just telling the backstory of my fertility journey, one of the things that kept resonating was, oh, well, I just figured, oh, yeah, it didn't happen, but I figured by the time I'm 30, it'll happen. And that's something that kept repeating. So ultimately, it stuck as the name of the book. But I'm super excited to have written it. And what I think is different and very notable in the book is that the book came about from my actual journal entries every day. So I even questioned if I should have those in there because it really gets to show you the nitty gritty of what I was going through day in and day out. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is, we can all tell a story. Like today is October 13th, and we can talk about what happened, I don't know, last year, October 13th, but it's but a vague memory, right? Certain things will come up. But what I love about the book is not only am I just recounting what happened, you're there with me. And a lot of women see and find themselves there. Like, and what I mean by that is, in the middle of us waiting on test results to see if the IVF transfer, the embryo transfer worked, we're still having to attend, our friend's function. And I'll never forget Miami Heat, the basketball team were in the finals, and everyone knows we're Heat fans. So of course they don't know what we're doing, but we're having to show up at their house. So I'm like, okay, well, can we get out of it? Do we not get out of it? I mean, I really want to go, but not. So those type of details and, what you're feeling and experiencing and interactions that you're having with people while you're on your journey, telling it from that perspective, meaning reading it when I was actually going through it is different than me just saying, oh yeah, it was kind of hard to decide if I was going to attend social events because I was going through it. So those type of experiences, or even, hey, I have to go to work today. I'm in pain. I don't feel good. Okay, well, I just got here. I don't feel like doing anything, so I'm just staring at my computer. So it's that realness and that rawness that's like, okay, this is actually what happened versus. Yeah, oftentimes when you leave these appointments, you're just tired and want to go home. But no, you're reading real time what it was, how I felt based on that. So I think that a lot of people resonate with that because they see themselves in it as people that are going through it. And the people who maybe have not experienced that situation and read about it, it's like, oh, okay. So with that case, if I do have a coworker or a friend or someone that I know maybe is going through it and they're coming in late because of that, I kind of know how to support them and how to approach them. Maybe, I asked about reassigning the task that they have at work by putting it off for a day or getting an extended deadline for something that's due, because mentally and physically it takes a toll, but then you're still expected to function. So that's what I really love about the book. And of course, there's other information in there with me giving tips from the male perspective, my husband's perspective. He has a section in the book that he contributed to, and that's also important because, the men are 50% of what's needed to create these embryos in life. So it was really good to get him in there. So I just really hope that the book can be out there. I also have spoken to different medical clinics, fertility clinics as well, to have the book be a resource for the women or the couples that, go in for these treatments. They can read someone who's gone through it in real life, So yeah, that's kind of sort of what I want to do with the book and how the book came about. And I'm really, really proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, you should be proud. It's a huge accomplishment to even finish a book, right? I mean, it takes some people years and they never finish. I'm one of those people that did that. I'm still writing a book. Like, it's been forever. And I think it's just one of those cool things to be able to accomplish in life, to be able to know you have that book out there. But in this situation, I really love that there's so much personalized information in this book about you, your chapters about your husband, him giving his perspective, which is super unique. And I love that it's kind of expanding into the world where, like, you are getting these fraternal critics or clinics to be able to, put the book on the shelf or have it available for people that want to read the kind of that experience, which is super cool and unique, I think, because everyone needs someone to kind of like look up to and guide them through some of these things, especially these big things that you're talking about. So it's super cool that you have this book out there. I mean, for those people that can't, like, come see you speak or whatever, it makes sense that this is a really cool alternate option for them to be able to absorb some information that you have. So mcdbe.com. I'm going to say that a couple more times probably, but I want to make sure that people can go check out the website. I did find you on Instagram, same thing, mcdbe as well. So definitely go check out this information, learn more about Marline. It sounds like you have an excellent platform and it's very educational. So I just wanted to kind of make sure we have that plug. But yeah, I'm really impressed with you, Marline. You have a lot of things going on, which is super cool. Big family now. So congrats on all the little boys running around your house and driving you mad. So, and it's super
Thank
cool.
you for that.
Yeah, I mean, and pats on the back for this transition that you're in, where you're trying to leave corporate life and take on this role of being kind of self-employed and building your own platform. I know that's not an easy step to take.
Right.
So obviously I want to stay in touch and just learn more about your journey. And, when this is a full-time gig, I'll be excited to see that kind of happen and see who you become even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you so much for that. And, another platform that I use is LinkedIn. And the listeners can also either find me by name, Dr. Marline C. Duroseau, or MCDBE, and they can follow me on LinkedIn. I between LinkedIn, my website, Instagram, definitely lots of helpful information, motivational information. I'm all about education, so I'm teaching and helping us learn and grow as it relates to this space with infertility, leadership, etc. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savfair.com and subscribe to our publication.